Hello, members. I know I owe you guys a few videos. I did want to just start out with this one because I'm not going to do a video on it. A lot of people will already be doing it, but I just wanted to say hi to you guys behind the scenes. Behind the scenes of Post-Woke World. It's like really crazy back here. You might get a glimpse of the dog. Come here, Fabio. Come here, Fabio. All right, so let's start with the story. Melissa Kohberger, Mel, as it seems she likes to be called. I think this is her on the left. Anyway, it's confusing and it's painful. Kohberger's sister breaks silence in New York Times report. Okay, I'm going to play this, guys. You ready?
It's confusing. It's painful. Kohberger's sister breaks silence in neat report. A member of Bryan Kohberger's immediate family has spoken publicly for the first time since the man convicted last summer of the University of Idaho student murders was arrested and charged 3 years ago. In an interview with the New York Times published Saturday, Mel Kohberger, one of the confessed killer's two older sisters, expressed grief over her family's experience during her brother's high-profile criminal case. She did so while stressing concerns about upsetting any of the four students' families with anything she might say. It's confusing, Mel Kohberger told the Times. It's painful. It's like being victimized but not really being a victim. A trained mental health therapist, she has sought to square the November 2022 homicides for which her brother now sits incarcerated for life some 2,500 miles away in Idaho with who they understood him to be, while also trying to honor the four victims' memories. Mel Kohberger has annual reminders set in her digital calendar for each of the victims' birthdays, she said. Her mother prays daily for their families, she said. Four victims were U of I students Kaylee Gonsalves and Madison Mogan, both 21, who were best friends since childhood, and Oksana Kernodle and Ethan Chapin, both 20, who were in a relationship for nearly a year. The three women lived at an off-campus home with two female roommates who went unharmed in the early morning attack, and Chapin had slept over for the night. In July, Bryan Kohberger agreed to a plea deal on 4 charges of first-degree murder that offered no chance of parole, and also required him to waive all of his appeal rights. In exchange, the now 31-year-old former Ph.D. student avoided the death penalty and was later handed 4 consecutive life sentences in prison. The Kohberger family still does not wish to speak about the fatal stabbings, Mel Kohberger, 34, told the Times. But she shared more generally about how they faced their own family tragedy. Before his late December 2022 arrest, her younger brother by 3 years only briefly talked about the murders in Moscow, roughly 10 miles west of where he attended school at Washington State University, while he was back at the family home in the Pocono Mountains in eastern Pennsylvania for Christmas. I have always been a person who has spoken up for what was right, she said. If I ever had a reason to believe my brother did anything, I would have turned him in. Mel Kohberger did not respond Saturday to messages from the Idaho Statesman. An email to the Kohberger family's attorney also wasn't immediately returned. In addition, members of the victims' families had not yet responded to requests from the Statesman on Saturday morning. Eastern Pennsylvania upbringing. Bryan Kohberger and his two sisters, Mel and Amanda Kohberger, 37, attended the local Pennsylvania public school system, the Pleasant Valley School District, where his parents also worked. His dad was a maintenance worker for the district, while his mother was a member of the education support staff. Donna Yozwiak was Bryan Kohberger's guidance counselor at Pleasant Valley High School. She didn't interact with either of his.
Okay, so let me just see, guys, because I'm not gonna. I mean, basically, it sounds like she didn't think it was him. They were shocked, and their parents are just like, listen to this. This is the counselor at his school. Talking about Bryan. I met with his parents to help plan his academic and career goals. Yeah, as we said, they were very concerned about his future and actively participated in his transitional plans as a student at Pleasant Valley High School. I still can't believe that the school that he went to was called Pleasant Valley High School, and the road that he's allegedly on right now in prison is called Pleasant Valley Road. So that's wild. But anyway, they always do that. They genuinely cared for their son and seemed involved in his life. He had dreamt of joining in law enforcement. They helped him beat an addiction to heroin. We were all so proud of him because he had overcome so much, Mel Kohberger said. And then this is a picture of his other sister, Amanda, and that's his mom crying. She looks like such an old, like Jersey mom, like a Yenta. Honestly, his mom looks like a Yenta. I mean, Kohberger's Jewish, but she's Italian. Her roots are Italian, Raganisi or something like that. But regardless, these people are just the nicest people. Bryan Kohberger then went to work as a part-time security guard. He graduated from Northampton Community College, got a psych degree, went into sales, got his master's. then goes to the doctor. While Bryan Kohberger was in custody awaiting trial for more than 2.5 years, he had hundreds of jail calls with his family. Idaho State Police told Statesman in a prior interview, the calls, which were monitored by police, almost always including both of his parents and often his two sisters, dodged any mention of whether Kohberger committed the murders, Gilbertson said. Always about just completely trivial stuff. Everything was, well, here's what we're going to do when he gets out. Here's what food he's going to cook when he gets out. Here's what baseball game we're going to do. How's the dog doing? Just like nothing you would expect it to be. Actually, these people, the Kohbergers, they're portrayed like this caricature of a family, this like super like religious Catholic mom who's praying over everyone. Years ago, she prayed because I love that line, cheering the hearse. It's just such a line. That was the thing that she wrote about how horrible society is, that people are cheering the hearse after Ted Bundy was executed. It really bothered her. Just an interesting thing to pick out to bother her. And then here's her son, and she has to face this trauma. And from what we're hearing from Mel and what we all expected, they were shocked. And in fact, Mel had told him, hey, watch out, there's a psycho killer around you. So like, it's just more fucked up fuckery from mainstream media. Okay. Mel Kohberger acknowledged to the Times that her family, I got to tell you this too. This is why mainstream media sucks so much. And it's not really always just because who owns it, although that's part of it. But the other part of it is they're just cheap. It's like any business that's cheap. The people who own these media companies are just cheap bastards. They don't want to pay that much. And so if you don't want to pay that much, when you go to report, the only you can report is like some talking points or narratives in a very short time frame that's just sort of like message sending, right? And I don't know that they're even doing it on purpose. I mean, I'm sure some of it is guided by certain advertisers and things. I think it's impossible for that not to happen, but they're not paying them or anybody enough, and they're not hiring the caliber of people to do investigative journalism like they used to do back in the day. Even the newspapers are like this because a lot of them they just don't pay. So the Idaho Statesman's a pretty good one. And that's why me, you, anybody on YouTube that wants to investigate things and do journalism is a good thing. That's why people can get channels for things, because the mainstream is failing at it. Their business model doesn't work. They're too cheap. They don't want to pay for the shit that people want to hear. And so they're losing. And so we gain because we, the people, can create our own news because we have access now to all the tools that they only had before. And so it's actually pretty cool. Amanda Kohberger was ultimately, prosecutors hinted last year that they might subpoena members of Kohberger's family to testify. And Amanda Kohberger was ultimately included in the prosecution's list of trial witnesses, according to the unsealed court filing. Separately, the FBI interviewed Kohberger's family members, including Amanda, after a raid on their parents' home to arrest their son and brother. Prosecution's unsealed exhibit list showed. Mel Kohberger recalled to the Times receiving the call from her sister with the news that for the past 3 years has upended their family's lives. She was like, I'm with the FBI. Brian's been arrested. Mel said, I was like, for what? Wow. Crazy. They're still going after him for restitution. It's because people are donating to him and it pisses the Gonsalves family off. You can't count other people's money. Anyway, I like Kevin Fixler's reporting. I think it's really good. And if you haven't seen a recent picture of Mel Kohberger, she looks super cool. She's very stylish. She always has been. She was like the punkier. Well, they were both kind of punky, like goth, like from what I'm looking at with Mel Kohberger, even with the weird video where she's doing that, which is probably just a silly TikTok thing. I'd like to chill and hang out with Mel Kohberger. Like she looks super chill, and she sounds. She basically she says in a nutshell in that interview, her parents, her family, everybody was shocked. We also found out that in those jail calls that Bryan Kohberger and his family often it was both his mother and father and sister, and sometimes both sisters were on. That's a very tight-knit, supportive family, okay? I will tell you that that's the type of family I have, including extended family. but I know that that's not as common as it used to be. I think around my generation is where things may have stopped, like my parents' generation. But the point is, that's not shocking to me. That's not weird to me. Okay. That his whole family is on there. Just like it was never weird to me that Karen Reed called her parents in the middle of the night and then called them the next early morning. Hank Brennan wanted to make such a big thing like that was consciousness of guilt. I've gotten in so many arguments with people, I'll just say in past relationships, not arguments, but heartbreak or crying, and somebody left me somewhere, and I'll call my mom hysterical at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, and she answers. So, and I did that when I was 40 years old and 45. And, I might even do it now. I don't know. But I'm just saying that's not when people don't have those kind of relationships with their parents, they can't imagine what that's like. They can't imagine the kind of acceptance and warmth and ability to just call your parents at 3 a.m. and say, "Hey, I'm in a bad way because of this," and they can calmly talk you off a ledge. Okay, I understand that not everybody has parents like that. That makes me sad. I also realize that people themselves can change and they can be good parents. And, anyway, I don't know how the fuck I got off on that tangent, guys. I'm sorry. But anyway, I just wanted to get on here and just kind of talk about Mel Kohberger. And they said, also he was saying that the FBI, or they were listening, and they're not supposed to tell us what they're saying, but somebody leaked it. And I'm glad because we're interested. Like, what were they talking about? And he said it wouldn't be what you'd expect. It was never about the trial. It was always it was basically future plans. Okay. And in my opinion, that's probably something a therapist or something said to do in order to help him maintain his sanity, because he's innocent, right? He maintained his innocence the whole time. And if you saw my video about talking to your friends about Bryan Kohberger's guilt or innocence, or argue on the internet about Bryan Kohberger's guilt or innocence, I broke that down as to why, even though he pled guilty, it's perfectly sane and actually a more accurate representation of the stuff to believe he's most likely innocent. It really is, because the stuff that took place in the Kohberger trial, the things that way they stand out, the lack of evidence, just like a one hit wonder with the touch DNA, which we all know is just like garbage and so many issues with it. They're stealing DNA, looking at DNA they shouldn't be. It's a touch DNA. There's no weapon. And there's no allocution. Okay. When there's no allocution, and when the person pleads but doesn't give up a murder weapon or something like that, the state has a really weak case. They have such a weak case that they just want to get the case closed. So they're going with that narrative closed versus they don't care if it's innocent or guilt. They don't give two fucks. They want it closed. This guy pled and we're going to shut it. And that's it. They know they had a case, period. So I do believe he'll come up on appeal at some point, and it might be ineffective counsel. And I heard lawyer, say this before, but he said, if Bryan Kohberger would, or anybody that got convicted went with ineffective counsel, that any good lawyer worth their salt would not be offended by that, because they want their client to get off. And that's a tactic that you have to use to save somebody's life or to get them out of jail, especially if you believe they're innocent. And guess what? When I see this face right here on the day of trial, okay, that face right there, and then you see this face right here, that face, okay, and then you see, his mom's sister. That's not it, sorry. But when you see faces that look like that, guys, they're devastated. Look at Ann Taylor. She's heartbroken. I even had the face thing analyze it, and it says 99% sadness. And what is it? 1% contempt. She's keeping 2% together with a neutral face. She can't hack. She was devastated. And so is Mazoff. Look at her face. What do we got here? Sadness. But she's not as sad. She's angry. She's better at the neutral face, but you can see it in the eyes, really. But man, she's got some contempt, and I can't read that one. It's really small. But surprise. And there is definitely an element of surprise with this plea. I don't know why. It seemed like they were surprised. Everybody looked surprised. Why does he look surprised, right? And shout out to, I think it's Heather Beeson, who said, this is the autistic Bryan. Because we know that Bryan Kohberger looks different in every picture that we see. And so, I mean, this guy right here is the same guy as this, right? And, you know, and that guy is the same guy as this. And one of the things I've looked at, and people who look at these faces look at, is the mole. That is a clear indicator. So see if you see that mole whenever you see a profile of his face. And if it's not there, it's a different Bryan. I haven't taken the time to really go through that. I think somebody has, though. Just haven't looked at it. But anyway, guys, look at Turtle Boy in the bottom. All right, guys, that's it for now. I am doing a video that I'm going to put out and then like go over live or whatever. And I did a video recently that I'm going to go over live with some pretty cool information. But the video I'm going to put out next is, just so you guys know, it's going to be on Epstein and ties to Zionism, and also how it all wraps together with Somaliland and the influencers that we see right now, like the conservative influencers like Valhalla, who I knew from the beginning was no bueno. I don't know if you guys follow Candace Owens. I don't have anything against Valhalla. I just have this sense that he's not being honest. And I can't pinpoint anything in particular. That's just my opinion. So I'm not shitting on the guy. He's got a great channel. I think it's called Valhalla VFT. Hey, get out of there. Stop that. But the thing is I think he's not being sincere, and he's some type of actor in this Candace Owens saga, just like Alex Jones. Alex Jones freaking totally sold out. Okay. Sold out Candace, flipped his and called Candace a bitch, and likely a Mossad global agent or some crazy shit like that. All because this guy Mitch came out and they don't like the fact that she's still digging into Charlie's death. They want her to be done already. And then freaking Tim Pool comes out and calls Candace a like, I never liked Tim Pool anyway. And Alex Jones has always been controlled opposition. So I can take him or leave him. He has these rages where I'm like, dude, you must be on steroids or something. Because he has those rage fits where he sweats and his veins pop. And I'm always worried he's going to have a heart attack. He's a weird guy. And I also think that he is this. Oh my gosh, I never answered the question. Oh my God. This is Alex Jones. And I believe that Alex Jones is that late comedian. I can't remember his name right now, guys. This is the late comedian. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up. Because they say Alex Jones. He says he's 51 years old. There's no way Alex Jones is 51 years old. Stop it. Oh yeah, it's Bill Hicks. Okay. So Bill Hicks, all right? That's who I think Alex Jones is. I think when Bill Hicks claimed he was going to die, that he was dying from pancreatic cancer, and he just like pieced out really fast, the Alex Jones thing kind of took over. And there's been a lot of analysis. I'm not the only one or the first one to look at this. I mean, I don't know for sure. This is my speculation. And this, believe me, this is not the only thing I'm looking at when I'm saying like I'm highly suspicious of Alexander Emmerich Jones and his whole backstory. And I find it very hard to believe that he's 51 years old, because to me, he looks at least 63-ish, 65-ish. So I don't know how old Bill Hicks would be if he was still alive, but probably definitely older than 51. Anyway, if anybody has interest in that, we can do a members only video on that behind the scenes and break down why I think, or some people think, that might be him. It's a weird thing. I don't even know why people would do that. Like what the would people do that for? Anyway, Mel Kohberger looks so cool. She's cool looking chick. And they're upset about the brother being in there. And the mother's freaking praying. Bryan Kohberger's mother's praying daily novenas for the victims' families. Mel Kohberger has all the victims' birthdays in her phone so she can pray and remember them. I mean, these people are like so kind. So please, for the love of God, please give Mr. and Mrs. Gonzalez and Olivia Gonzalez the discernment and wisdom to not say anything nasty about this family. Please, God, do that for me and for all of us, and even for the Gonzalez family. All right, guys, that's it. I might try to come on later. Look, check this out. I did an AI flying. Isn't that crazy? So freaking cool. All right, guys, that's what's up. Peace.